The Feral Cat and the Drunken Drama by the Feral Cat. Once upon a time in a small town, there lived a street-smart feline named the Feral Cat. Unlike other cats who spent their days basking in the sun and licking their paws, Feral had a taste for adventure, and a knack for finding himself in sticky situations. One day, the Feral Cat found himself working for a private owner who lived in a shabby little house on the edge of town. The owner, let's call him Drunkard Bob, was a peculiar character, always wearing a stained robe and sipping from a mysterious bottle that seemed to appear from thin air. He was a kind of eccentric genius, except his genius was usually clouded by alcohol. At first, the Feral Cat thought it was a perfect job. He could roam the house freely, take naps on the couch, and help Drunkard Bob with various tasks, mainly making sure his beer fridge was stocked and the TV remote was within arm's reach. But as the weeks went on, something strange started happening. Drunkard Bob's mood swings became more unpredictable than a cat on catnip. One minute he was offering the Feral Cat snacks, the next he was yelling at him for knocking over a plant. Then came the fateful day when Drunkard Bob, deep into one of his notorious benders, fired the Feral Cat in the middle of a wild rant. "You're fired, Feral. You're the worst cat I've ever had," he slurred, pointing a wobbly finger in his face. Feral, not one to argue with a drunk man holding a half-empty bottle, simply rolled his eyes and packed his things. The next twist in the tale? Drunkard Bob decided to hold Feral's last 2 checks for a solid 10 days. He claimed he was sorting out his finances, but in reality, he was probably busy binge drinking and passing out in the middle of a grocery run. When he finally handed over the checks, he tossed them at him with a grunt, as though they were some sort of obligation he couldn't ignore any longer. Feral didn't think much of it, until he realized he'd also kept his W-2 form for a solid 10 days, too. But the drama didn't stop there. Oh no. Drunkard Bob, in his infinite wisdom, told unemployment that the Feral Cat had quit the job. He lied. "He left me," he shouted at the unemployment office, probably while nursing a hangover. The nerve of the man. Feral, feeling both insulted and enraged, pulled out his secret weapon, 60 pages of text messages, full of harassment, proof of his shady behavior, and the countless times he'd called him a lazy furball. To top it off, the Feral Cat had some news of his own: he was 23 weeks pregnant. Yep, that's right, pregnant. He wasn't just a regular cat, he was about to be a dad, and yet Drunkard Bob had known for weeks and still hadn't shown a lick of respect. The stress was mounting. His apartment was on the verge of being lost, and the future of his unborn kitten seemed just as uncertain as the likelihood of Bob ever telling the truth. So, what did the Feral Cat do? He decided it was time for a showdown. Armed with his 60 pages of text messages, a belly full of stress-induced cravings for tuna, and the fiery determination only a soon-to-be dad cat can have, he marched into the unemployment office, tail high and ready to pounce. "Excuse me," he meowed at the clerk, "I've got a little paperwork to show you. Let's clear this mess up." The unemployment office, bewildered by his sudden appearance and tenacity, couldn't help but admire him. With all the evidence in hand, they quickly realized that Drunkard Bob's version of events was more twisted than a hairball after a catnip binge. As for Drunkard Bob? Well, let's just say that karma is a sneaky cat. He found himself in even more trouble when the authorities got wind of his unpaid debts and unprofessional behavior. Word spread that Drunkard Bob was no longer the charming, bumbling fool people thought he was. In the end, the Feral Cat didn't just win his unemployment claim, he became a local legend, the cat who outsmarted a drunk, the father-to-be who refused to be silenced. And as for the kittens? They grew up strong, with a father who knew how to fight for what was right. They even became the best lawyers in town, well, at least in their own little world, chasing their dreams, and the occasional string. The end. Or is it?